Hey everybody, there's some big changes coming for my kayak and for this channel this year, so stay tuned while we go through how I've rigged out my Coosa HD. So this is my 2022 Jackson Coosa HD. I've made some modifications to add as I added accessories. The first accessory I added was actually this anchor trolley right here. The mistake that I made, so if you've got a Coosa HD and you want to add an anchor trolley, here's the mistake I made. I ran it too far up to the front and it starts rubbing here on this rod tip protector. So next time, and I've thought about doing this, moving the front end instead of all the way on the bow, just to right here. So that was the first addition I made. This, believe it or not, has been my anchor. 5-pound dumbbell. It's worked rather well. But for Christmas I got something that I'll show you works even better. So my first anchor rope was just 550 cord, about 30 feet long, and I had a cleat that went into the track here, and that's how I tied off my anchor and then put it through the anchor trolley, moved it back and forth. Took me over 30 minutes usually to get that untangled. So the first thing I got was the anchor wizard. This, if you use an anchor, an actual anchor, you have to have an anchor wizard. It is the best addition you can have. All you got to do to drop the anchor, little flip like that, and line starts coming out. Ready to bring it up, you just start cranking it, and there you go. After that, I ended up with a Garmin EchoMap 73. Now the great thing about the Coosa HD is this pod here. It's made with a day storage area right here. I actually took the bag out, and you'll see why in a minute. But this, a lot of people will take this whole pod out so they get extra foot room. And if you notice in the Coosa X, there is no pod. You just get tons of room for your feet. The great thing that I used this pod for is I mounted my Garmin right here onto the pod. And all my cables are immediately underneath the pod. Everything's stored here. Here's my transducer scupper, and I just put my battery right here. How I did that is I got cutting board, basic plastic cutting board. I got it from Target at the time, and so I reinforced underneath and on top. And while I was doing that, I realized the cutting board had a handle, so I cut the top piece a lot bigger, and I ended up with storage space for pliers and scissors. They just drop right there. Sometimes I'll even, after I cut off a lure, there's a nice rattle trap, I get a spot to hang them and let them dry out. So if you're going to add something to this, definitely look at a small cutting board. You can end up with some storage space. So this is all the cables for my Garmin. As you can see, I've run 2 cables up. That goes to the head unit, and then everything's nice and tight down here, zip tied. Here are the that's how I plug it into the battery. So the battery sits right there. I don't have it strapped down or anything. And then this is where the transducer goes. So this is more of the cutting board that I used and a bungee that I had. So I basically followed Matt Ball video on how to put a transducer into a Coosa HD, and that's what I used. And there is the backside, the other cutting board that I used, basically to reinforce this plastic. It's strong enough, but I wanted more reinforcement for the 3 screws that went down, so it gave it something more to bite into. Up here, this is the rod holder, the Yak Attack rod holder that came with the kayak. That's one of two I use. Here's my paddle holder. This actually came from my previous kayak. So this is, I don't remember, I got it from Academy, but it works for holding my paddle. Then we've got the Kayak cup holder that doesn't hold much drinks anymore. Now it's become where I throw a lot of my baits. Swim jig. Oh, I actually threw a crankbait at one point. But yeah. Oh, there's a tiny little pond magic spinner bait. Of course you know those are in there. But yeah, this just ends up becoming my catch-all for lures after they've dried out. So this was my first crate. People talk about putting a crate. That's exactly what I had. A milk crate. And then for Christmas, my daughter, you'll find out my daughter loves me. She actually got me these rod holders that I just zip tied on. This was my actual first crate and my first kayak. When I got this nice Coosa HD, I just used the milk crate. Then I upgraded to something else. Now I have a Black Pack Pro. This is the 13 by 16, so 13 inches here, 16 inches here. As you see, it fits perfect within the tank well of the Coosa HD. You saw all I had was my original Garmin box in that little crate. Let me tell you, this is crazy. So I've got my VisiCarbon Pro, so I can fish tournaments. I have yet another rod holder that I put right back here. I carry my Garmin Fish Finder battery. I carry my Garmin 73, and I've got more. I got food, yes, packages of MREs. I've got more than I ever use tackle wise stored in here. Losing some beef jerky. I'll have to clean that out before the next trip. So tons of space in here, more room than I even need. The Black Pack Pro definitely changes things. Once I get everything out and rigged up, I have enough room for a sweatshirt. If it's one of those cool spring mornings, I could have my sweatshirt on, get hot, take it off, and I've still got room in here. So I told you my daughter loves me. She asked me this year what I wanted for Christmas, and I'd seen these DeBomb anchors, and basically it's a 6-pound lead ball, but you see how well it comes up into the chute of the Anchor Wizard. Took this out first time 2 days ago, and I actually thought it was stuck in some trees. Turns out when you drop a 6-pound ball in 20 feet of water into mud, it sucks into the mud. So be careful, maybe don't let it free fall that 20 feet, but it held everywhere that I dropped that anchor. So that is how I have my Coosa HD rigged up. I did add in some foam golf balls into my scupper holes. This is the one that started it. Just happened to find it at the lake one day, shoved it into a scupper hole, and it worked. So I went and bought more foam golf balls, stuffed them into all my scupper holes, and that definitely has reduced the amount of water that ends up on my feet or on my towel or the dry bag that I carry. So that is how I have my Coosa HD rigged up. Stay tuned, because very soon there will be something else on the tailgate.